Hey, welcome to the channel and thank you so much for listening. I want to debunk the rumor or the stigma that Black men are only dating white women who seemingly are unattractive or they're leftovers from white men who don't want them. So they come over to the Black space because they know that a Black man will want them because they're white. First of all, that's untrue. And then when you see these pictures, when white guys date Black girls, and then you have this skinny, beautiful Black woman with this white man who's also attractive. And then you come over here to the side where it says when Black guys date white girls, and you have this man, I mean, he looks average, whatever, but you have this super overweight with her stomach hanging over her cooter, basically looking disgusting. And that's not the case. And I have noticed this. It boils down to biracial hate of those of us who have white mothers. It's a way to diss white women who date Black men, because I've seen different arguments. Well, they're not even all that anyway, so you can go ahead and have him. He's nothing anyway. He's a Pookie Arawer. He's dusty. He don't have no money. You can have him. But that's not always the case when it comes to these relationships. Sometimes people are actually in relationships for love, and it really exposes the self-hatred in the Black community. Because why is it that with the Black woman, she's beautiful, and then she's ending up with this white man who also is beautiful or, handsome, and he's got money and status. But then you look at this Black man over here and he just looks, like I said, just normal. And then you've got this overweight white woman that no white man would want to be with. It does boil down to hating biracials with white mothers, hating the whiteness. And then with biracials, we're not even able to lift up our white mothers without us seeming like we're colorist or we're pedestalizing white women or white beauty. And I've already mentioned in previous videos that the white beauty standard and white supremacy is the reason why most people, especially in the United States, have a complex when it comes to beauty or status, because the white beauty symbol or standard has always been prevalent in this country. It is shifting. It's becoming more ambiguous like biracials look, but it's still a problem. And I do think that there is this jealousy and hatred, especially when it goes to biracials having their white mothers, and especially if we want to uplift them. So instead of just letting that rock, we have to have pictures like this where it shows this weird couple. And also switching it around, the type of Black women white guys date versus the type of white women Black men date. So now you have this beautiful Black woman again with this handsome white man, and they look like they're at some beautiful event or maybe a wedding or something, and they're dressed up for the occasion. And then you pick some hood looking white girl, which I've mentioned in previous videos, that's not a good look. I cannot stand when white women do that and try to quote unquote sound or act Black. I mean, there's no reason. Even my father being Black, he doesn't even act like that. Like, not every single Black person acts that way. So that's annoying. But again, it's portraying white women in the bad light that, well, they're just the trash that the white man doesn't want. Like the man here with the Black woman, he would never date a white woman like that. But he'll go over to a Black woman who looks like she's got class. And again, it's just knocking biracials with white mothers, because it is also hating of all biracials, but I've noticed that the biracials that have Black mothers, there's not as much smoke with them at all, because you can clearly see that in the divestment movement, that's something that is being pushed and marketed to everyone. But I'm not seeing statistically that more white men are going to Black women. Of course, there are some that love Black women. There's always exceptions to the rule. But at the end of the day, it's usually the white women that are going with the Black men, because there are more white women. I do understand where some Black women are coming from when they do mention that a lot of these Black men, once they become successful, or if they're the quote unquote good Black man, that they end up wanting to go to a white woman or non-Black woman. And there was this woman who I worked with, and she was like that, but she was a very angry person. Like the definition of an angry Black woman, the stereotype, that was her. So I always would think to myself, she's not helping the stereotype. And stereotypes, obviously they're not true, but there's some truth to it, which is why people say it, because they've seen it multiple times. This woman had a son, and she wanted me to meet him, and she was just wishing that I would be with her son. But what she ended up saying is, yeah, but he's with some white girl, but maybe if he sees you, he'll leave her or whatever. And I just didn't like that. So I said, well, what's wrong with, her being white or whatever? And she just was like, I'm just so sick of these black men always going to these white women. That's all they do. They don't want to be with black women. They don't want to be with like a Latina even. I would be okay with that. They want to be with these white women all the time. And it just was racist to me. And I said, well, my mom is white. And she's like, yeah, but I'm not really talking about you. I'm like, but you're talking about a black man who is with a white woman. And I'm the product of that. So I'm never going to agree with your standpoint on that. I respect that. But you don't be saying that to me, because I'm never going to agree. And I'm going to let you know about that. And the same if like a white woman said, oh, I don't think that white men or whatever should be with black women, or vice versa. I've actually had white women also say, well, I'm never going to be with a black man because I'm white and I just don't think that black men are my type. Now, that's fine. They don't have to be your type. But don't get disrespectful, like that's where the line is drawn. So as a biracial with a white mom, when people are coming disrespectfully, that's when I have a problem, and I am going to say something, because we've been silenced a lot. I know people might say skin tears, biracial tears, whatever. We're always saying that people were picking on us, but it's the truth. Maybe not every biracial was picked on, but the majority of us, if you truly are biracial, you know the struggle. And if you have a white mom, you really know the struggle, because that's who you're mostly around, and you're not even allowed to compliment your white side or embrace your white side or say anything nice, because if you do, then you're accused of pedestalizing it or just wanting to be white, and that's not the truth. But if you would say something positive about your black side, like for example, when I would tan and get darker in the summer, and I would want to, have a more ethnic look or wear my hair curly or whatever and embrace that, that's looked at as a positive thing. But if I wanted to straighten my hair, or if I lightened my hair, why are you trying to be white? Well, I'm half white, so I'm not trying, but why can't I embrace both of who I am and love that? And even being part Hispanic, well, I speak Spanish. So yeah, why wouldn't I speak Spanish? Why wouldn't I take on some of that as well? That's part of my culture too. And that's just, it's so insane what we have to deal with. And it drives me nuts, because to put white women in the category who date black men all in this group, that this is how they look, this is how they act, this is how they talk, that's not true. They are not leftovers from white men. There could be some white women, maybe they don't even like white men. I have met a lot of white women that don't like white men, and it has nothing to do with lower standards from black men. It has nothing to do with white men not wanting them. It has everything to do with they have a preference. Just like some people say black men have a preference of light skin and white. Okay, well, some white women and light skinned women have preferences of black men. What's wrong with that? I just don't see it being an issue when black women have a preference for white men, or, I mean, no matter what the reason is, whether they're just divesting because black men are not doing what they need to be doing, or because black men don't want them, or whatever the case, or because black men are dating white women, so now they're going to go and hop the fence to white men. What does it matter? Why are we having these discussions in 2024? I mean, I'm not surprised, but at the same time I am, because it just seems like, all right, people haven't learned anything. We haven't really come up too much from even Jim Crow. It just seems like now everything is more covert instead of overt racism on both sides. It's annoying. But I wanted to just come in here, say my piece on biracials who have white moms, because we're not about to just say things negative about white women and white moms, because a lot of our moms, they held it down because they faced so much animosity on their side. Even in my own case, my white side, my mom grew up around racism, and there was a time where my mom just had to abandon her family for a little bit because she made the decision to be with a black man. And of course, my family now, they've come around and they're loving, and I love them, and we're all cool. But there are still racist people that were people who have family members that they're biracial and they're racist and they don't talk, and that's what happens. But you don't want to perpetuate that on the black side too, because black people also face discrimination. So when you also come at biracials with white moms and you hate us, you're just perpetuating self-hate for one. And then you're also showing your true jealousy, because why else would you hate that? Make it make sense.